Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'm so excited to be able to tell the story of Spiritleaf with you today, especially on 420, which is a big day in our world. And we'll share a little bit of history about 420 in a couple of minutes. I really want to thank kind of the gathering and Ryan and Chris and the entire team. They've pivoted and persevered this year, which is really a big theme of what I'm going to talk about as an entrepreneur. What I do remember from attending all of these sessions as an attendee in the past, and what I hope you kind of get out of it as well, is I always hung on many of the words of some of the speakers. So I'm really just going to tell you my story. We'll get into the weeds a little bit about how we built Spiritleaf and some of the details. And I hope some of what I have to say resonates with you. I actually received kind of a great message this morning from a great woman who helped us design our stores. And it was actually 2 years ago to the day that she told me she was leaving the design firm and was going out on her own. And she screenshotted the email to me, which was a little bit embarrassing. But my words were this, and they certainly I think they certainly hold true today. She said, my words to her were this: congratulations, enjoy the ride. It's a roller coaster. Believe in yourself, fuck the naysayers, and never quit. You won't look back. So I think that's entrepreneurship in a nutshell, and something that I've certainly experienced over the last 20 plus years as an entrepreneur myself. But let's talk about Spiritleaf and really explain to you what it is. Spiritleaf is currently the largest single brand recreational retailer in Canada, if not the world. We're operating in 85 stores and strategic locations in 50 cities, 5 provinces, coast to coast across Canada, and we'll hit that 100 store mark probably later this summer. In 2020, we served over 2.3 million guests and surpassed $105 million in system-wide sales. And recreational cannabis has only been around for a couple of years, at least legal in Canada. So it's been an incredible journey, and I'm really excited to share the story with you. But everything that we do at Spiritleaf is really embodied in our manifesto. So before I kind of dig into it a little bit further, I want to share this kind of 90-second snippet with you about what Spiritleaf is all about. Where there is smoke, there is fire. Where there is fire, there is a deep passion to share our joy and knowledge of cannabis within the communities we live. There is no one more informed, more dedicated, or more willing than we are to educate, support, and inspire the people and the populations we serve. We harness our collective energy to create a beloved brand because this is our labor of love. We know where we come from, and our authenticity extends from the motivation of the people who have come before us, the pioneers behind the counterculture roots of the cannabis movement. We are anchored by our history and the practice of using the cannabis plant as a channel for creativity, tranquility, introspection, and sociability. We pledge to absorb and honor our cultural traditions and continue the legacy of elevating our inner spirits. We grow when our communities flourish, so it is our duty to cultivate deep connections with our consumers and our partners through understanding and continual engagement. We respect each individual's reason for choosing cannabis as a way of enhancing their quality of life. Social, therapeutic, and spiritual journeys are all welcome here. We know where we are going. We are trailblazers leading the charge in a brand new industry. We believe in connecting people in a world which is deeply divided. We believe that everyone matters equally, regardless of status, age, ethnicity, or creed. We aim to foster true community spirit through what we stand for, who we serve, and the products we provide. We can imagine a world full of peace, love, and harmony. We are Spiritleaf. So if you kind of, just to take you back a minute and explain 420, and I want to take you back to the 60s and early 70s, and think about while I'm talking, but kind of about the parallels to today. So in the 60s and 70s was really the beginning of the, I'd say the cannabis culture. I mean, people have been consuming cannabis for over 5,000 years. It's always been kind of a polarizing drug and topic, if you will. But in the 60s, you had this kind of crazy tension going on. There's all sorts of concerns surrounding human sexuality, women's rights, authority, police, drugs, and different interpretations of what the American dream would look like. And I think if you look to 2021 and today's world, it's really the same. We still have all these similar social tensions. We're advocating for equal rights. There's gun violence, hatred, and racism. And it's just kind of remarkable that 50 years later, how little we've grown. And that's why our manifesto really speaks to us on such a deep level. So to give you an idea of where the 420 holiday comes from, a lot of this kind of counterculture movement was happening in California in the late 60s and early 70s. And there was a bunch of guys called the Waldos, and they attended San Rafael High School in the early 70s. And they received a map so that they could go and find this harvest of this bunch of cannabis that they could harvest. And they all agreed to meet at 420 at the statue of chemist Louis Pasteur. So in the ensuing days, they would meet. They found this patch to harvest, and they would often meet. And they coined this term: "Let's 420. Let's meet at 420." So really, the term was coined in 1971. So this year is actually a 50-year holiday of the term 420, and why we're excited about it today. To give you a little bit of background about myself, I've been fortunate. I grew up in Calgary in a retail and entrepreneurial family. It's just been in my blood, and retail has been in my blood. And over the last 20 years, I've really had the chance before Spiritleaf to hone my craft and to learn the business really from the beginning. From 1999 to 2008, I actually graduated from university. I got my MBA, but I always knew I had this entrepreneurial spirit in me. And I remember vividly one day walking to the university. I got a job, and I was wearing a suit, and I was miserable. And just kind of followed my gut on that day and quit and said, you know what, I'm going to go and pursue my entrepreneurial dream. So for the next 20 years, really, I've just been, for 1999 to 2018, we built this company called Watch It, which is a chain of recreational retail stores. And we learned everything during that time. I mean, it was incredible. We learned how to retail, we learned how to do leasing, we learned how to do branding. And it was really a 20-year training ground for where we've arrived today. And I've been fortunate because many of my staff have been on for that ride. And it was around in 2017 where things started to get really difficult for us. The watch business was starting to fall. Amazon was kind of taking hold on retail. The Apple Watch was almost did 50% of the entire retail watch business in just 1 year. And the writing was on the wall. And literally, just I guess as an entrepreneur, I was broke. And we needed to do something fast, and we needed to pivot. And very much like The Gathering and what you've all heard today. But the underlying tone to that, I guess, between 1999 to 2018, and even before that, is I've always been a cannabis user. And I'd be the guy, everybody would be drinking at a party, but I'd be on the guy and with the girls on the side, hanging out and in a different environment. I never really appreciated alcohol or enjoyed alcohol, but I always enjoyed cannabis. And so kind of from 1999 and even before that, 2018, I was part of the cannabis culture. I was going to Fish shows and Grateful Dead shows. Music is a big part of cannabis for me. And so when Justin Trudeau got elected in 2017, I was like, okay, well, I'm tired of retail after 20 years, and I'm not sure if I can do it. As I say, we were broke. But if there's anybody I felt that could open a recreational cannabis chain in Canada, I felt it was myself along with my team. And so that same team kind of started pivoting, and we were applying the same principles and all that we've learned from the previous 20 years to recreational cannabis. So kind of our pillars anyway of the things that we wanted to put into the brand was our business and ethos, which is really everything that we do. We want to be true to the cannabis culture. We want to invest in our people. Retail today isn't about opening a store. It's in four walls. It's omni-channel retail. There's so many touch points to it. And we also want to do it on a franchise model. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And you know, the marketing is really a huge part of it and everything, and a big part of why we are here today. So business and ethos with a purpose. We really wanted to build a cannabis company, and we had this opportunity as the first G7 nation who legalized recreational cannabis. We had a responsibility to do it right, and we really wanted to do it with a purpose. So you saw our manifesto, and it's really what we're all about. But we want to invest in our communities. We want to be true to the cannabis culture, and we also want to support entrepreneurs and local communities and charities. So that was really kind of the foundation of everything that we were doing from the beginning. And for the cannabis culture, it was always important for us that we were true to that cannabis culture. We wanted to know, we knew that if that true cannabis user came into our store and they bought into us and our brand resonated with them, that it was going to resonate with everybody else. Because you're always going to ask that guy or a cannabis dealer or somebody who knew cannabis, wait, where should I go get recreational cannabis that's legal now? And we wanted those people to go to Spiritleaf. So cannabis culture is really very important to us, and we wanted it to be true in our stores and every touch point, yet we didn't want it to have that stigma that is traditionally associated with cannabis culture. So we also wanted the stores and the feel of the brand to resonate with everybody, from the hockey parent to the executive to the grandparents. We really felt that by being true to the cannabis connoisseur, we were also going to attract also kind of the everyday consumer. And I want to just show you this video on High Times magazine. One of the ways that we did, really enveloped ourselves and made a partnership to ensure that we were part of that cannabis culture is we did a cross investment with High Times magazine. So we've actually got the largest High Times magazine collection in the country. They're displayed across our stores. In every store, there's part of that collection, as well as at our head office. We've got the original 4 versions dating back to the 70s. But I want you to just get a feel for cannabis culture. It's the 50th anniversary of 420 today. So let's show this High Times video, which I think really sums it up for me.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful time. The world is lucky to have something as beautiful as marijuana.
My first memory of High Times would have been when I was a kid and my dad had gotten a copy of it. It's like, oh my God, what is this?
Herb is important. Herb is a plant.
This is where we got to learn. This is where the foundation of our cannabis journey started, was reading High Times articles. High Times really paved that road.
Marijuana laws, and they know the law is ridiculous, when you get a whole generation that grows up as felons.
High Times was the first, you know, they took the chance when it was looked at as something that's taboo, and they brought it to the forefront, always.
Just say no to drugs.
Growing up in the 80s, when all we got was that Mexican brickweed, and you look through High Times and see real green bud with trichomes, it seemed like impossible, like it was a fantasy.
Oh man, back in the 90s, you know.
And I didn't inhale.
It's all about the weed. You know, the artist is cool, but all I remember is just those big strands of bud on the cover.
My favorite cover was Snoop Dogg. He killed it.
Stoner of the year is Snoop Dogg.
Did somebody say smoke that shit?
The Stoner of the Year,
James Franco.
they all were on the covers of High Times, and you know, these are guys who I grew up looking up to.
I don't know if all comedians owe marijuana a debt of gratitude, but I know I do.
Hey, what's up? Look, I'm in the middle of a photo shoot.
I really love that High Times is a supporter of women in the cannabis space. Articles like Susan Sarandon and Sissy Spacek, Pamela Anderson. I mean, like, these are cannabis feminists.
As a canna mom, I can say that High Times is one of my favorite publications. When I think of High Times, I think of the cannabis cup. love exploring all the new technology. They're always like ahead of the trend.
Marijuana legalization, we're going to the next level now.
The connotation of what a cannabis consumer is definitely changing, and High Times is covering everyone.
Congratulations, High Times, on your 500th issue. 500? Big congrats, guys.
Thank you, High Times. Happy 500th issue. Woo!
So to me, that just envelops the cannabis culture and what it's all about. And it was really important to us at every step of the way that, that we were true to that cannabis culture. The next thing was really investing in our people. And our staff are incredible. We've grown from 0 to 850 staff across the country in a matter of 2 years. So it took a lot of tools to ensure that we are training our staff. We're in a highly regulated industry, but we really needed to educate both new and existing consumers on cannabis and how it can affect them. It's complex. We take our social responsibility and education very seriously. And our people are really incredible. I think they're differentiated, they're remarkable, they've got purpose, they're courageous. I think they really listen to our customers. I know they support our communities. We've given them the power to co-create with us. And we really do promote personal freedom, and we believe that everyone matters equally, regardless of status, age, ethnicity, or creed. And the different people that are working in our staff and at our support center, the diversity is just incredible. And at every step of the way, we want to ensure that we're investing in them, that they have the opportunity to succeed and grow with us. And being a hyper-growth company, I think that we've really achieved that, and we'll continue to strive, as we know the people on our front lines are the most important to us and to our brand. And I can't thank them enough for the last 12 months during COVID, standing in those stores and still engaging with our customers and providing a relief for customers who are struggling during this awful pandemic. The next thing I just want to talk about, we're a retailer, right? So what's our philosophy around retail? Retail today isn't opening for a store with 4 walls. It's really an omni-channel retail experience. There's so many different touch points along the way that are essential to be a successful retailer. Even down to our design and all the attention to detail at every touch point. You can see our stores, they're all actually in Canada, they all have an element of Canadiana in them. So all sorts of photos and murals, and the wallpaper in Newfoundland is different than the wallpaper in BC. We've got guitars and canoes and just all these kind of natural elements that really give it a true, unique flavor. And just to talk about some of the things that are important to retail and brand, number one, I talked about the space and the education, and I'll talk about franchising in a minute, but also we've had to pivot. So with COVID, we needed to have all of our stores, 85 stores, flip from an in-store experience to now you're shut down and everybody can only pre-order and pick up on the curb. So we were able to pivot quickly with our technology to provide this online convenience for 85 stores, which is no small feat. Our name recognition is obviously very important to us. And in 2020, and I think you had Cameron Harold on today, he talked about free PR. We were actually the most talked about retailer in the country. We had over 600 stories written about us, and really just an incredible amount of free PR and media coverage. Is such a polarizing topic and such a hot topic in Canada that we really honed in into the PR. And then also just like every element that we do. We have a loyalty program of over 250,000 members. The loyalty of our guests is just incredible. And everybody got text messages from us to celebrate 420. They get it for their local stores. Our premium store experience is really important to us, but we focus on also the digital aspect of it. So we review our Google ratings. I actually see almost every Google ranking that comes in to ensure that our customers are happy and how they can improve. And we solicit their feedback through surveys and engagement, just to make sure that this cannabis shop is really, it's about the people, it's about our guests, and we want to make sure that, that we were speaking to them and delivering exactly what they wanted. Actually, I kind of want to go through, when you see this culmination and how it all comes together, I want to show you this video from April 1st, 2019. This was the first day of legalized recreational cannabis in Ontario. And this is kind of how it all came together in a career highlight for us. So check out this video of our Kingston store opening, where the night before we actually had the Tragically Hip out for a pre-party and a ribbon cutting. The Town Crier came out on April 1st, and look at the hype that we were able to build. Sorry, that was my fault. That was actually our staff training and all the elements we put into our staff training. Let's give you one more video, I promise. There'll only be one more after this, but of the Kingston grand opening, which I think really envelops kind of the omni-channel retail and the huge experience that we created. Awesome. Now, the next part of it, and I think a real important foundation to our company and our success, has been the franchise model. Everybody's familiar with franchising as it relates particularly to restaurants, but nobody had really applied a franchise model, barely to retail, not very common, let alone the cannabis retail industry. And we just felt that having local owners invest in their communities would be extremely successful and a much more effective way to build this national retail chain across the country. Our franchise partners are made up of men and women and families, and just an incredibly diverse group of entrepreneurs that contribute to the brand and their local communities. We've actually got 62 different ownership groups, and many of those owners all operating multiple franchises. And collectively, they've invested over $50 million into communities across Canada. And really, they're at the foundation of how we built this business. Every day, they're paying attention to their stores, their guests, their employees. And just the franchise model has really been proven to be effective. We were the first and still probably the only recreational cannabis company to be members of the Canadian Franchise Association. And we received the 2020 Franchise Choice Designation Award for satisfaction of our franchisees. So the franchise model has been extraordinarily successful. And then last but not least, as we're all here at a branding and marketing conference, and I know everybody's going to be screenshotting this at home, but really we took a 360-degree marketing approach to everything that we do. So we look at everything from the retail trade to creative to social, digital, events. We do all of this to PR, strategy and support, visual media. Every single one of these elements is part of our marketing and branding strategy. And I think has just really helped us focus and cover all of the angles. We've had the most incredible award-winning campaign. So last year, at the start of COVID, events could no longer exist, and we had to move to kind of like more of a virtual world. So we did a Spirit Bus tour, and last year I think we had maybe 50 or 60 stops. This year we're planning for 105 stops. But I want to show you the creativity that went behind the award-winning Spiritleaf campaign, Spirit Bus tour campaign, where our marketing team, who's just incredible, won a Markham Award Platinum of Excellence. So let's flip that quick Spirit Bus video. The regulations behind marketing or the cannabis industry are really crazy. I think the Globe and Mail said it best, no excitement, no glamour, no fun. But I think our creative director said it best when it's actually really made us even more effective as marketers. So we've had to be creative, we've had to think outside of the box. We're not allowed to really show people in any of the marketing. So I kind of want to give you an idea of how we work around that with one final marketing video, which I just think is really, really cute and cool. We actually have a terpene education campaign going on right now, where we're educating all of our guests on terpenes and the power of terpenes in cannabis. And here's a quick little video of how we get around the regulations and how our people look in this video. So for those of you who are currently high on 420, you probably appreciated that a little bit more who aren't quite there yet, but gives you an idea of the creativity that has come out of the regulated industry. And last but not least, we wanted this to be a community-owned company. So this isn't owned by Darren Bondar. I'm blessed to be the founder and have a great team around me. But we did an IPO and we're publicly traded. We were actually the first recreational cannabis company to do a true IPO. And it's really just brought all of our guests who want to own a piece of the company together and really just makes everybody kind of feel as one. And to us, that's really what cannabis is about. It's spreading peace, it's spreading love, it's spreading harmony. and just doing good in the world, being a unified community. And I really hope that as the years progress and as Spiritleaf evolves, that's the positive message that we can send to the world as we continue on this crazy journey and to be a top recreational cannabis retailer globally. So thanks so much to everybody for being here and for tuning in, and enjoy 420 today. Lots going on, and thank you very much.
Have a seat.
Thanks, man.
I can't help but notice that somebody left a couple of beverages here. Are we supposed to be?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it probably wasn't going to be totally appropriate for us to spark up a joint, but Cannabis 2.0 allows us to drink a little cannabis beverage.
Cheers.
So,
it's actually just probably water in there, just in case it's not allowed. But
yeah, I'm not sure what the rules are, but we've been pushing the limits.
Delicious. Darren, that was awesome. It was awesome to hear your story. I've been watching it from, no pun intended, from back in the Watch It days, and I'm curious. So how many stores is it today? 85?
Yeah, we've got 85 stores operating coast to coast.
In a little over 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And then you've got another 30 for this fiscal year.
Yeah, planned. Pretty close, somewhere around that number before the end of the year, for sure. Yeah.
So, and I believe it makes you it makes Spiritleaf the largest retail brand in the cannabis category. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, definitely in Canada and globally. There's been a lot of, it's a crazy industry. There's a lot of M&A activity, and other guys have merged. So, there's some of our competitors are carrying 4 or 5 different banners. But for us, it was always really just being about natural and organic growth and focusing on one brand, which is all the learnings from the gathering and Cult and the team here, right? So we've really ignored kind of that noise and just kind of stuck true to who we are, who Spiritleaf is. And it's not necessarily about chasing store counts, although that's, the public market game, but it's really just about being authentic and doing it right and really methodically.
I'm curious, so I'm in the space as well, and in a bit of a different capacity. And I've had some of my own challenges and conversations around this next one. But how did your family react when you told them that you were going to stop selling watches and become one of the world's biggest drug dealers?
Well, yeah, when you put it that way, those are tough conversations, right? I mean, my wife is always supportive, and every entrepreneur knows that your spouse is like your second in command. So I'm really appreciative for that. But I also have kids. And some of the most difficult conversations, with my teenage kids are around cannabis and my use of it, and the fact that becoming more and more profile now, and so those are tough conversations. But the same way we treat our guests and our customers in the world really is about providing education. We grew up in the 80s where you'd see Ronald Reagan get up and, this is your brain on drugs, and a fried egg would go. But it's not like that. And so we're really just trying to change the stigma, and that extends all the way from, our guests to the world to my family.
I'm guessing you don't necessarily get invited to bring your parent to work days and stuff like that at school?
You know what? I haven't been invited yet. I hope one day, because we have some entrepreneurial stuff to share. But
yeah, one day.
I also appreciate the sensitivities of how the high school parents would react when they invite me as a headline speaker, as you say, Canada's biggest drug dealer.
And obviously, I'm joking. I've huge respect for what you've done.
Thank you.
And I'm a huge believer in the industry as well. Is that sort of part of your personal mission? It was really interesting to hear the brand's manifesto, but from a very personal side of things, was that a part of what was going on in your head of the narrative needs to change here? Somebody's got to change the way that people think about this?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've always seen the benefit of cannabis for the last 20, 25 years. And I've always felt great being part of that community. Every time I go to a Grateful Dead show or hang out with, my friends who are like-minded, right? There's just a good feeling about it. So, yes, it's for sure part of a personal message and mission, but it really comes through the brand and letting the brand speak for that mission.
Right. You've got a bit of a distinction between what Darren thinks and what the brand thinks. I suppose you have to.
For sure, yeah. And Spiritleaf is really the channel for not only myself, but really the 850 staff around us now. We're all quite like-minded. Everybody's really passionate about cannabis and the culture, and it's such a diverse group of individuals. Everybody brings a little different piece. So it's been just unbelievable to watch it grow and just see what all the foundational brand stuff that we've put in, how that just resonates from store to store to store across the country.
It seems as though in the consumer landscape, there's a bit of a divide. There's consumers, legacy consumers, pioneers. I think you refer to them as people who have had experience and familiarity with the plant for far longer than it's been legal from an adult rec use perspective. And then there's this whole group of emerging consumers who maybe didn't interact with the category prior to legalization.
Yeah.
You seem to be a brand that is sort of got one foot in each community. I'm curious about how you think about that. I'm curious about how you reconcile, with the authenticity that's demanded by a pioneer and the approachability that's demanded by somebody who is unfamiliar.
It was something that we set out for from day one. And as I said in my presentation, that we knew that if that true cannabis user, the individual that's smoking, an ounce a week or whatever, if they bought into us, that was going to be key to our ultimate success. But at the same time, we also wanted it to be open for all and to be welcoming, have this welcoming environment. And when you come into some of our stores, all of our stores, you walk in and people are like, oh my God, this could be a high-end luxury store, not over the top.
Oh, they're beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, they're not over the top. They're really tastefully done. But it really removes that kind of stigma and the fear of going into this backdoor corner shop where the music's blaring and there's no retail or comfort environment. So, and I think the cannabis community is thrilled that they get to share their love, that the stigma is being reduced. And the cannabis user is not always that hippie guy or gal with the dreadlocks. I'm a 25-year cannabis user, right? And I have a family, I've built a successful businesses. And so for me, I'm just thrilled to be able to share it with more and more people. And I'm really thrilled with more products because not everybody wants to smoke, right? I mean, smoking's not good for your health. But stuff like beverages, stuff like mints, stuff like candy are inviting that new user so we can show them the benefits, show them that they can be creative or spiritual or whatever their intent is to use recreational cannabis and be welcomed into this cannabis community, which is really, for me, it's always just been about peace and music and love and harmony and acceptance. So I think that's kind of how we justify it on a daily basis, and it's working. We want everybody to be part of it and everybody to chill out a little bit, I think the world needs more cannabis right now.
Totally.
And I think the cannabis community is really happy with how we've done it.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, just to add to that, I think that you shouldn't be allowed to be a politician unless you've had extensive experience with psychedelics.
I'm not going to get into it, but all I could think about for the last couple of years was, Donald Trump needs to smoke some weed, man, and everything will be a lot better.
Totally.
But yes, for sure.
The other thing that I thought was interesting, just as what you had closed on in your presentation around being a community-owned brand, and you mentioned also that partnerships have been a really big part of, I don't know if it's the strategies, feels very corporate, but your approach at least to growth. Two questions. What do I have to do to become the High Times Stoner of the Year?
Yeah.
And second part of the question would be where do you see these partnerships going? Or is it just a financial tie so that you guys are working in each other's best interest? Or are you looking to do really awesome things in the future?
No, with every partnership that we've entered into, there's been strategic. Of course, we're playing in an investment banking world, and that's a business into itself. And Bruce Linton was talking about the investment banking world earlier. But every partnership that we've entered into has had a purpose. So one of the most exciting ones that we did was with New Strike back in the day, and they were some of the founders of New Strike were the Tragically Hip. Right. And we got this cross investment with them, but as part of this, we really wanted to support the Tragically Hip story. And Gord Downey had just passed, and he had the Gord Downey Cheney Wenjack Funds. So in addition to kind of being partnered with the Tragically Hip, we really wanted to give back to the community and promote Indigenous reconciliation. So that's just one example of how there's this financial tie, there's this strategic marketing tie. So we now have Spiritleaf, like Up Lounges is the name of that that cannabis brand in our stores. So we've got these Tragically Hip lounges, and then we've invested in a 5-year commitment to the Gord Downey Cheney Wenjack Fund, which promotes Indigenous reconciliation. We actually have one of the only legacy spaces in Calgary at our support center, at our head office, where people can go for Indigenous reconciliation. So every investment, every partnership that we do has for sure a financial commitment to it, a strategic component to it, and then also a charitable and community component to it.
Very cool. Yeah, I've seen that, and I've seen I think one of the more recent announcements was with Loop Pool.
Yeah.
Which is also music based. Is this Darren coming through? This is your love of music? I know it is sort of central to cannabis, but
yeah, for sure. I'm a huge music fan and love concerts. I think that's my biggest miss from COVID, as I feel the energy from those shows. But yeah, Loop Pool is just another example where we made a financial investment to Loop Pool, founded by 7 of the top Canadian music artists. And it's really in its infancy, but I can't wait to see this partnership envelop. I just worked on a Vivid Vision for 2024, kind of Cameron Harold's tool. And in that Vivid Vision is an annual music festival. And I envision all these great music artists, Our Lady Peace and Felix Cartel, and all these guys coming out and playing at this festival. So yeah, wherever we can donate and invest back into our community that sticks true to our brand, these are partnerships we seek and look for.
And long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens with that one. I know of a couple of other people that are involved. It seems like a bit of a powerhouse crew behind that from a strategic standpoint, from an operational standpoint. Looks like it'll be one to watch for sure. You've taken maybe a little bit of a different route from some of the other entrants into the market by going down the franchise path. And I think always one of the challenges of franchise models is that you're sort of a half step further away from the control of the experience in the store. And I've seen brands manage it with extreme rigor and rigidity.
Yeah.
I've seen brands not manage it at all. And obviously either ends of that spectrum have, pros and cons to it. But I'm curious about how you've managed to strike a balance. It seems like the experience when I go into a Spiritleaf is very consistent, but not forced. Do you have any insight there that you can unpack for anybody else that's trying to manage their experience?
Yeah, for sure. Our franchise partners are phenomenal, and they've just such a passionate group, took early risks with us. And so we put a number of tools in place that really empower them to follow the brand, to create their own marketing, but it's all on brand. We use Canva, we use Vistapro actually. But beyond that, we do secret shops, and we have a variety of tools to help ensure there's consistency. But mostly, I think it's just brand buy-in. People understand what we're doing. The brand resonates with them, and they're into it, and they get it. And we really make sure, kind of before we enter a long-term franchise agreement with our partners, that they get it. And they're not going to fight us on it, but also if they have new ideas, and a lot of our growth and success has come from their ideas, we're going to look at them, we're going to evaluate them, and see if they can run across the company. But then also it allows that local flavor. So like what's going on out in Newfoundland is crazy. And it's so fun, and it speaks to that local Newfoundland community.
Totally.
But it still has that taste of Spiritleaf. You know, it's the Spiritleaf is the foundational brand there.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like whatever it is, it seems like you've got it figured out. Like it's impressive because I've worked with other franchises in the past, and I think it's a tough. I see the advantages to it, but it can be tough.
For sure.
Maybe just to kind of close us out, you've been on a huge journey from, I think, when we first met, when you first came to the gathering 5 years ago. Yeah. Just wondering, what were is there any sort of like, was there a moment, was there a piece that came from maybe a speaker on stage or a conversation that you had here that helped to transform how you were operating with Watch It to what you're doing with Spiritleaf?
It's a great question, and I remember it vividly.
Cool.
I was actually working with Ryan and Chris, and it was on Watch It. And we were selling watches across the country. We were selling millions of watches, but we never really understood why. And Chris and Ryan really helped us understand our sense of purpose with Watch It. We were helping people celebrate milestones and events and important and meaningful moments in their life. It wasn't about selling watches. So it was really just about finding our true purpose. So when we had the advantage of starting Spiritleaf from scratch, we developed our purpose from day one. And our purpose is really just to promote peace, love, harmony, and provide education and reduce the stigma around cannabis.
So good.
So that's the driving force, and yeah, how it's evolved today.
Awesome. Well, Darren, I tremendously enjoyed your session. This is a great conversation. Hopefully we get a chance to continue it later, but I think we're out of time. So thank you for sharing the story, and best of luck with another 30 stores in the next 9 months or whatever it is.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy 420, everybody.
Yeah, happy
Thank
420.
you very much.